All right, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining the ProActivators podcast. Today, I have a special guest, Mr. Tim Eggebraaten. How you doing, sir?
I am outstanding. How are you?
Very good. Thank you
Good.
for being with us, and I appreciate you have been. Your son invited you, and he talked to you about us, and so that's why you're here. Now, Tim, can you go ahead and tell the audience who you are and what you're all about?
Absolutely. So I live in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, and been in Minnesota all my life. And I was in law enforcement for about 28 years and retired 9 years ago already. I was police chief in our community here and for about 5.5 years. When I retired, I ran it by my wife and our three sons, and I said, "Hey, I used to always tell people if you don't like your path, you can change your path." And that's really easy to tell somebody else, hey, just change your path. But it was harder to do it myself. But I could feel myself getting kind of crusty, and I didn't want to be crusty. And I was starting to get into that us versus them mindset. And so I shifted gears 9 years ago, and now I travel the country. I share a message of hope and positivity, and how do we navigate the tough parts of life while still looking for the beauty that's out there? And I use music in my presentation. I also perform as like a one-man band. So I love music, and my wife and I have three sons. And you met Luke Eggebraaten on one of your interviews, and Luke is our middle boy, and uh, we have our oldest son lives in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis area, and our youngest son is also in Minneapolis, and two grandsons and one in the hopper on the way. So life is good, brother, and it's the whole thing has just been, you mentioned wisdom, and I hope I have some wisdom. I don't know. That's our goal, isn't it? To learn from our mistakes and see what other people are doing and how we can continue to notch it up a little bit and continue to go forward and improve.
Nice. Well, thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the proactivator. The proactivator is a person who is proactive about eradicating the bad habits in their lives, and acquiring habits that edify their lives and those around them. Okay, so that's what a proactivator is. A proactivator is a combination of the word proactive and terminator.
Yeah.
Proactive because we need to be proactive, and terminate because we need to be decisive and terminate the habits that are detrimental to our lives. Now, that came from the book The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, which is, for me, my second favorite book, because I gotten so much out of it. And
Right.
the first habit is to be proactive. And then I had a book club a few years ago, and I wanted to look for a word that would describe the people in my group that were being proactive in the areas of their lives because they were improving. And it was a nice movement that was going on. And I could only say, man, those people are just being very proactive. But then I kind of wanted to find a word to describe it, you know? And then one day I was watching The Terminator, and I saw how the Terminator was just determined in the mission. So much so that the Terminator, they had to make him the good guy from the second movie and on, because you can't have a Terminator that can be terminated.
Yeah.
And what I like about the Terminator is that he showed no feelings, and he just needed to explosions, bullets. Nothing stopped this guy. He was determined. And that's what a proactivator needs to be, to eradicate the bad habits in our lives that are not serving us. That's the same mindset we need to have. So then I figure proactivator. And that's where the word was born from.
I love it.
And yeah, thank you. So now I'm in the mission of building. What do we do at the proactivator? We build state of the art leaders, and we go through the six pillars. So, Tim, I want to go ahead and go through those six pillars with you, because once we go through those six pillars, we're going to be able to see the good and the bad. because we want to know your struggles, we want to know your wins, and everything in between when it comes to those 6 pillars, because we all go through it. Because if somebody out there can resonate with what you're saying, your struggles and your wins, then you can be an impact to them because they see that you were able to overcome this in this way. So that's the reason why we do the pillars and why we do from a scale from 1 to 10. So let's get started now,
All right.
and let's start with faith. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
All right, let's do it. All right, Tim, let me ask you something. In your faith, because I know that you're a man of faith, for what I've heard from your son.
Yep.
And from a scale to 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself? One is like Jesus, who? To 10 being like Gabriel, I'm not sure what else I could do in my life to be closer to the Lord. So that's the standard. So Tim, where would you qualify yourself right now?
I'm probably like an 8.275. Huh? That's
8.26.
dialing it right in there. Yeah. I
All right,
definitely
all
have
right.
some work. Definitely have some work to do, but I've always had a relationship with God and like a one-on-one like communication type. I mean, since I can remember years ago. So
Well, Tim, an A plus, it's really good. What I like to know is what is it that makes you at that high level? What is it that you do on a daily basis that gives you that closeness with the Lord?
it's I think like everybody, I think that we have days that we're an 8 and days that we're a 4, and I love that proactivator mindset that we need to do something. God's waiting for us and he's just like, he's not going to hit us in the head with a 2x4, and some days we need it. But about 2 months ago, I went on a retreat. It was a silent men's retreat. I'd never done anything like that before, and it was like from a Thursday night at 7:00 p.m. to Sunday night at 7:00 p.m. and 72 men, and it was silent. We shut everything off and just walked around this beautiful area and had some meditation and different things like that. But it was profound, and that's I think why I'm like an 8 plus right now, because those nights and days in silence and just like being very open with God, just saying, hey, here's where I need some help. And well, he knows already anyway, so I think that really helped just put everything aside. I'm not scrolling on junk on the internet. It was just a really good time to recenter, refocus, get my priorities straight, and it was amazing. So, but I think, like I said, I mean, every day is like that, where we have to be proactive. If we're just sitting around waiting, for God, give us a sign. I envision God as this being with like pulling his hair out, like, because I would imagine that he'd get so frustrated with people like us, where we sit back and we say, hey, just give me a sign, give me a sign. He's like, what more do you want? I mean, like, do you want that 2x4 across your head? Because I've given you a lot of signs, and they're there. The people that are put into our lives, the conversations that we have with people, the negative parts of life, I mean, they're all there, I believe, for a reason. I think people are put into our life for a reason. Um, our aches and pains can be used as a reminder that, hey, this might hurt for now, but I can be thankful that I have an elbow that hurts or whatever, and so I feel like my relationship with God is very strong right now, and it always is, but there's times where I lose sight of that, and I get too caught up in the daily day-to-day whatever it is, and but right now, today, this moment, I'm feeling good about it.
But let me ask you something. What do you think that what you need to do to get yourself up to like a 10? Obviously, perfection is nothing that we're ever going to reach. So it's not
Mhm.
about perfection, but it's about knowing in your heart that you're good, because what you're doing is in the body that we're in right now, because we have a sinful body. This is where we are right now, our situation. But we do get to control the actions and the way that we are.
Mhm.
towards our relationship with the Lord. So what do you think in your own personal life that would take you up to that 10 in a consistent basis? What do you need to do personally?
I think continuing and ramping it up even more to focus outward, a focus on others and how can I help others and what gifts have I been given that other people would benefit from by me sharing. And again, like if I'm focused inward and like, oh, whatever's going on in my life, that's not going to get me closer. But when I focus outward and focus on others, whether it's a keynote speech or a little music gig or something, if I'm not, I don't get nervous when I speak. I don't get nervous when I play because it's not about me, has nothing to do with me. And so the more I can do that and look outward, uh, I think that will help. And then also, I think for whatever reason, I never really got into the reading the Bible very much. And this silent retreat, we had 3 days or whatever of like nothing going on. So I started getting into it and I found a study Bible, that went into kind of behind the scenes, like what was going on this time, and it was fascinating to me because it gave me more of a broad look. So I think the deeper I can dive into that too will help, notch me closer to that 10. Like I said, I don't know that I'll ever get to be a 10, but that's the goal, isn't it? Just to continue to hone that and find the things and be honest with ourselves, like where are we deficient and who can we talk to or what can we eliminate? What can we filter that static that's out there? Where can we filter some of that and focus on what's good and what's going to get us closer to that 10?
Yeah. Well, I believe it's about elevating your standards. So if you elevate your standard, you know what, I'm going to read my Bible, 5 minutes, 10, 15 minutes a day, hey, you just elevated your standard. That's what
Mhm.
you do. And little things like that. When we elevate our standards, that's when we elevate, I believe, our number and get closer. And,
Mhm.
and we can always elevate our standards a little bit more and a little bit more. So,
Yes.
all right, Tim, awesome. Now, let's shift. Now, let's talk about the pillar of family. Now, from a scale to 1 to 10, 1 is like your kids don't even know your name. To 10, it's like you are locked in your family. That's what you are in their lives. Somebody who's there for them, somebody that has guided them. So that's that who Tim is. So where do you see yourself in this pillar?
At least a 9. I mean, I've got an amazing family and those before me and currently, and then the ones coming up. I mean, it's just so blessed in that area and so thankful for all of them. And we've got great relationship, not only with our 3 sons, and it's great having adult children, where we have these conversations. Like Luke, he's in Arizona, but he and I kinda started our entrepreneurial journey at the same time when I retired from law enforcement, and he started his marketing company, and so we trust each other, and so we can have these open communications about, like, what your goals are, what your challenges are, how can we help each other, and then our oldest son and the youngest one too, the relationship we have is stronger every single time we communicate with each other. And then the 2 older boys are both married, and so their wives and their wives' families were like best friends, and it's rare. I acknowledge that it's very rare. We get along so well with the in-laws and just great. And then our youngest son, his fiancée, her family, we just spent some time with them over Thanksgiving and same. And it's like, man, I mean, it's just so powerful to have that. People talk a lot about that generation or whatever, like my kids' age, they go from 33, I suppose. And people say, oh, that generation, whatever. And I look at my sons and I look at their immediate circle of friends and they're broader. We can go way out and they're rock stars. I mean, these young people are crushing it. And if you're looking for the negative, you're going to find it. But these kids they're not kids really, but these young people are out there crushing it, and to have a relationship with them where we're open and honest and challenging each other. I mean, I grow from them, hopefully as much as they're learning and growing from my experiences too. So it's phenomenal. I'm very thankful for it.
That was one of my favorite things when I talked to Luke about is how he expressed himself about his family, and he told me a lot of things that you told me.
Uh,
And yeah, but I wanted to talk to you about that because what do you think, Tim, that what did you do right, brother? You must have done something right. What was
yeah,
it? What do you think? What can you pinpoint to when they were kids, the things that you did, the way that you raised them, the
yeah.
habits that you lived on your own? What do you think it was?
My wife and I, so we've been married 36 and a half years and high school sweethearts, and we've been together a long, long time. And so we know each other very well. We trust each other. And so when we were raising our sons, we knew that we were going to make mistakes. We knew that we weren't perfect parents. But I think, one of the biggest things was we held our children accountable, and we never spanked our kids. We didn't use violence at all. I worked nights and weekends as a police officer a lot. And so when I would have a tough night at work with domestic situations or child abuse or drug abuse or whatever, I would go home and I would immediately be thinking about my family. Like, what can I do as a dad to love my wife and not treat her like I've seen other people treat their spouse? What can I do for my kids that I see other people, like, what can I avoid? And so, like with the boys, early on, we would give them responsibility. And when we go to the dentist appointments or doctor's appointments, I would step back. It was always me because my wife would work days and I worked nights. So I was with my boys during the day. It was amazing. And so we'd go to a dentist appointment and I would step back. And, there's this 5-year-old little blonde haired cutie, saying, I'm Josh Eggebraaten here to see Dr. Whoever, and I would encourage them at a restaurant to order that for themselves and do that. And then when they meet people, we would encourage them to look somebody in the eye and shake their hand. All three of those boys have great handshakes. And I think just the simple things like that, and then holding them accountable. I get kind of a tough rap because a lot of times in my early law enforcement days, especially, everything was black and white. It was like the speed limit's 30, not 35, and I was very rigid that way. But if I told my kids, if I gave them a warning, like, if you do that again, this is the consequence. And I would always make it a realistic consequence, and I'd follow through with it. And we went to Las Vegas one time, my wife and I, and we bought some swords, like from Excalibur plastic swords, and brought them home for the kids. And they had a bunch of friends over and they were playing with these swords, and whatever they were doing with it was not appropriate. And I said, guys, knock it off. If you do that again, I'm going to break that sword. And sure enough, whatever it was they were doing, they did it again. I took the sword and I snapped it. And the look on their face, we were just reminiscing about that recently with the friends that were there. They're all adults, they're married, and they're like, but the look on their face was like, holy crap, this dude means business. I'm like, well, I told you if you did that again, or if you throw that balloon at your brother one more time, I'm going to pop your balloon, and so I think that was a big part. And we talk about that too. Like, they get their smarts definitely from their mother, my wife. She's brilliant, and the kids are all super smart. And so whatever they get from me, I'm hoping that it was like some structure and some, and it was never when I was police chief, I would to work with my officers that same way, that I love you guys. I want you to succeed. But we have to have guidelines here. We have to have rules. We have a policy manual. We have, and if there was discipline, it was from a spot of, I want you to succeed. I know you can succeed. You screwed
Mhm.
up this time. We're going to fix that. But you need to know that you can't do that. But also you need to know that I love you and I support you. I'm here for you. I will give you whatever tools you need to succeed. So I tried to do that as chief. I tried to act in a similar way that I did with my sons, and I continue to do with my sons, that and then even with myself, that give myself some grace that, yeah, man, I screwed up back there. What can I learn from it? I know I can't do that again. Where can I go from here? And so I think that's the structure that, and again, we didn't have all the answers. We didn't have hardly any answers, but we did the best we could do. We came from a place of love and respect, and that was, we did the best we could do. And we have 3 knockout boys. I mean, they are great young men making a difference in the world, and that's, just, it's humbling as a dad and a friend to them now, and it's just great to see them crushing it.
Nice, man. Yeah, Tim, that's you speak to me a lot because I do bring a lot of structure to my kids. I have 2 boys, 15 and 13, and I do teach them responsibility. We sit around, we have our family meetings that we do every Saturday. Today we missed our family meeting, but we're gonna make it up tomorrow after church. And yeah, I mean, you give me a lot of hope because although I know that I'm being the dad that I'm supposed to be. Sometimes, you play the role of the bad guy. Although I give them a lot of love. I hug them, I kiss them. They know I love them. But, you have to play the role of the person who enforces the rules.
Mhm.
And that's just the way it is. And I don't mind it. I'm already used to it. But hearing you say that, and it brings me comfort because I know that I'm doing something right. Because like you said, man, you have 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 kids that are
Yeah.
that are doing amazing, man. And not only that, but what I see in your family, Tim, right? What I see in this unity is that the people that you surround yourself and that they surround themselves with have that same, they gravitate to that same type of mindset, to that same type of structure. So why are you surprised that the people, the women that they're bringing in have that same thing? It shouldn't be, because that's just the people that gravitate. You guys have become this planet that gravitates that type of mindsets, and the people, that's just the nature of it. So I think that that's what's going on with you guys.
Yeah.
It's the culture that you guys have surrounded yourself with is growing, and the people that is bringing in are the same type of mindset, type of people that are. So of course you're gonna get along with them because you're in the same. That's called when you are. Um, there's a mindset. It's not just a mindset, but okay, I'll remember later. But I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But yes, that's what happens. I believe that's what's happening with you guys. What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
I agree 100%. My
Frequency,
parents. What's that?
frequency, the same. You guys are in the same
Yeah,
frequency mindset.
love it.
That's what
Yeah.
I remember.
So my parents were awesome too, and as I'm speaking to organizations, I'll get people coming up and they'll say, "That's really nice, Tim, but I didn't have that." And I get that. I understand that. I don't understand it because my parents were amazing. My dad was always, both of my parents are deceased, but my dad was always saying to us, "I love you. I'm proud of you." And my mom, same way. My mom, one of her mottos was, "I am, I can, I will." And I've made that in my motto, "I am, I can, I will." And, but very positive role models and very positive people. I appreciate that not everybody had that. And some people came from abusive homes, and maybe one of their parents wasn't around or whatever. And and that can help explain some things, but when we start using those as excuses, another saying my dad used to say was, "When you plant corn, you get corn." And so to your point that I shouldn't be surprised at how my kids are turning out, we poured into them and we planted corn. And so to see them achieve their and continue to go out there, and they're they're finding goals, and they're crushing it out there.
Hmm.
So I'm less surprised. I'm humbled by that I had a piece of that, but I also recognize that each one of us has been given gifts. There's an We've all been given something. And and when we start to recognize those gifts, and not like as a pride thing, like, "Oh, I'm really good at whatever," but when we honestly recognize that we've been given whatever the gifts are. So Gabriel, you've been given this gift of having just these they seem casual conversations, but you have a way of pulling out and so that's definitely a gift that you have, and you're sharing it with your listeners, and I always vision, like, when doing an interview or a conversation or whatever, that the beauty of this format is that somebody can be at a really down point in their life, and they put the earbuds in, they're going for a walk, and they're listening to your podcast and your interviews, and the hope is that something, and you said it when we started this interview, this talk, that something somebody says resonates with them, and they say, "You know what? If this guy has this success or this woman is doing whatever, maybe this is something I can try to improve just like 1%, just that little bit extra. What can I do? That 15 minutes of reading or meditation or whatever it is." And so yeah, I agree that we're like a planet. I love that analogy, that we have this gravitational pull, but we all do. And if we're focused, if we're hanging out, another fun saying is you can't soar with the eagles if you're hanging out with the turkeys. And I love that because it's like, if you are honest with yourself and you look at your friend group and the people you're hanging out with, and if you're constantly feeling anxious or you're looking over your shoulder because the cops are coming and you're nervous or whatever it is, be honest with yourself and who are you surrounding yourself with? And they should be making you better, and then you should be helping make them better. And it's challenging to have the mindset to reach down to somebody to try to pull them up, because more than likely they're going to pull you right down. They're going to suck you in. But if you go into it with love and grace, and you're honestly just there to help and support, then the people you're hanging out with, you can build that planet and that gravitational pull, and you start to attract other people that are like, yeah, let's do this thing. We got this, and we don't have to be negative. We can make a difference.
Yeah, yeah. Your family has that. That's the culture, and people are attracted to your culture. So when they meet a friend, and that's so. Yeah, man, that's awesome. All right, so let's move over to a pillar, which is the fitness pillar. Now, Tim, let me ask you something. In your own fitness life, where do you see yourself from a scale to 1 to 10? One is that you haven't picked up a dumbbell or taken a walk for years, or to a 10, you are 100% working out. You eat what you're supposed to, and that's who you are. So where do you fall in this spectrum?
Probably about a 6.5 on that. I I feel decent, and Luke and I did the 75 hard program a year ago, and we finished, well, almost a year ago. We finished in May 9th, and so 75 days of doing these, two 45-minute workouts, and there's a regiment of things that we did, and we just challenged each other and pushed each other. We both completed the 75 hard program, and I lost about 20 pounds, and we finished on May 9th, and I haven't gained anything back. And I think my metabolism shifted, and so I I work out a bit. That's why I'm only at about a 6.5. I need to be more intentional uh, about physically working out. I've sat all my life, my whole career. I sat in a police car or a desk, and so I'm starting to feel it now in my hips. So I'm starting to work on that, and I quit drinking about 8 years ago, and drinking alcohol, and I'll have a glass of wine once in a very rare while, but so that's helped. And so I definitely recognize that I use excuses a lot. Like right now, it's, what is it, 11 degrees outside, or yeah, 11 degrees, and it's just like gray, and I'm like, I don't want to go outside, but if I put a hat on and a coat on and my boots on, I can get out and move around and get some exercise. We have a treadmill downstairs, and I use way too many excuses, and that's what puts me at a 6.5. I got a lot of work to do, brother.
All right, no problem. Now, so okay, you kind of mentioned it right now, but what do you think that you would have to do to get yourself to a 9 or a 10? Like, what are the actions, like the daily activities that would, if I did this every day or at least 5, 6 days a day, it doesn't matter how many days, but if I did this consistently, I will be at a 9 or a 10.
Yeah. I think it's just that consistency is the biggest thing. Cause when I'm working out and I can feel it, I'm like, yeah, this feels good, and you would think that that would be enough incentive, like knowing how you feel when you do 75 days it was grueling at some days, but ding dang, it felt amazing completing that. And so that's the thing is for me, I need that vision of how I will feel, like, when I'm done and how I feel while I'm doing it, instead of, because it's like that when you're stagnant and you're not moving, the hardest step is to take that first step and to start moving and doing something. And so removing some of those obstacles and those I can'ts and, it's cold outside. Well, yeah, it's cold outside, but if I'm in Miami, it's probably too warm to go walking right now. I don't know, but it's you always find something, and so that's where I'm gonna continue to focus on doing something every day, and just that, whether it's 1% or 2%, just continue, and I'll keep lists, and apps on phones are great, and different techniques. I'm not a big fan of like New Year's resolutions or anything like that because they fade quickly, but feeling good is really good incentive. And I'm 59. I just turned 59 and I feel pretty good for 59, and I'm at a decent weight. And so just to continue that and just continue elevating and I'll be back. And using Arnold's, the
All right.
Terminator's line.
Let me let me tell you, I like one of the things that in my life that I done, that I discovered, right, has been adding rules in my life. We all have rules. And I did a conference and I came up with this little analogy, right? So when we go up to a red light, what do you do, Tim?
You stop.
Right, right. Now, what do you do if it's 2 o'clock, 2 a.m. in the morning, there's a red light and there's
Yeah.
nobody around? What do you do?
I still stop.
Right. So you see, we follow rules even when nobody's watching because we are already accustomed to that. The same way that we follow rules, we can add our own rules. Now, we want to go outside and do a 15-minute walk sometimes, but it's not a rule. It's an option.
Yeah.
You see, when we're at a rest stop, it's a rule. It's not an option for us. That's what we need to do because that's what we said we were going to do. That's how we follow the law. So the same way that we follow the law in many other places, we could start implementing our own rules, our own laws, our own constitution.
Mhm.
And so in my life has been, I work out. Whether I feel like it or not, I get up early in the morning and I go and do my workout and I put myself through that pain.
Yeah.
Family meetings. We do our family meetings consistently. And that's a rule that we have in our life because I know that it's good for us, going to church. So I started thinking, you know what? I started adding more. Okay, I already do some rules. I brush my teeth. That's a rule that I can remember for the longest that I've been doing. I make my bed. That's a rule that I've been doing for as long as I can remember.
Mhm.
So when I started discovering that about rules, I'm like, I know how to do that in this area. Let me try in this area and let me add this rule. So Tim, for me, that was like amazing because now I know how to, we all know how to keep rules. You know how to keep rules.
Yeah.
Now we just need to start implementing the rules that we know we have to have in our lives and that we want to keep. We already know how to keep them. Now we got to start implementing the ones that we need to do in our lives and then learn how to keep those. And for me, that was because now I add rules all the time in my life and I
Mhm.
follow them, and I don't have I don't give myself an option. That's what I do. So the rules, that's
I
going to
love
help a
it.
lot.
Yeah. I love the red light analogy too. That's That's awesome.
Hey,
I've used that
you can
before.
borrow that one.
Yeah,
You
that's
can borrow
great.
that one.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's move on to a pillar that it's important for everybody, obviously, and that's the finances.
Mhm.
Now, the pillar of finances, a lot of people think it's about how much money you make. Oh, if you're successful financially, then you are at a high level. But that for the proactivator, that's not the standard. The standard is how good of a steward are you with what you have been entrusted with. So
Mhm.
either if you make $50,000 a year, or if you make $2 million a year, it's not about the amount. For the proactivator, the standard is how good of a steward are you in
Mhm.
managing that. And so Tim, I'm going to ask you from a level from 1 to 10, how good are you in managing and steward what you have been entrusted with?
I think, uh I think my wife and I, as a team, I think we're at about a 7.3. Um, we're much better at stewards of our time. Um, I'm a hospice volunteer, and I play music, for church, and I play music for people near or at the end of their life, and so stuff like that, like our time stewardship is is really good. And that's probably like a 9, but our financial stewardship, we can tighten that up a lot. And we recognize it though, and that's, and so we do give, and we do scholarships and different things. And so we're a lot like Luke and his wife Olivia, we have a really good handle. My wife is a financial genius. Actually works for a financial planner, and she's been in banking business. So like her mind around finances are amazing. And where my mind with finances, I can't remember numbers. It's like, yeah, whatever. And I'm less concerned about the numbers and more about the impact that we can make with
Mhm.
that. So we're very, we've owned our house for years, and so that kind of mindset we're solid at. But giving financially more, I know we can do better.
Okay. No, that's good. So what do you think? So you're saying so for you to become an N or 9 or 10, something very high, what do you think you guys as a family must do to become a better steward with what God has entrusted you with?
I think going back to your rules, I think if you have, if we set more of a like a 15% or, whatever, like a hard number, which we don't. We give generously, but I think if we had more of a bar that we set, like this is a rule for every, and so like with my income is up and down because
Mhm.
it's all based on events that I'm working at, and so there's not consistent at all. So I'll have months that are phenomenal and other months that are like, "Yeah, pretty good," whatever. But I think if we had a set number, a percentage that like, so whatever that month looks like, this is the rule. And so I
Mhm.
love that. I'm gonna chat with my wife about that and see what we can come up with and say, let's just do a percentage. And it would be easier, or not. It's not easier. It's an excuse that we don't have a consistent income flow, and
Yeah.
it's all over the board. But that's if we set a percentage, I think that would help a lot. I
Nice.
love that.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, Tim. That's good that they're open about that, and you recognize what you need to do to get to the next level, and that's great. So, Tim, let's move to another pillar that for me is very important. I mean, they're all important, but which is the pillar of focus. The reason why I have this as a pillar is because in my own life, that was like in many people's life, it was a problem. I was very distracted with all the bells and whistles that this life has to offer us, especially with our phones and all the distractions that come with that, and how society makes us to be addicted to entertainment and all that. And I came to a point where I recognized that a few years ago, and I started I started implementing the Terminator analogy from the ProActivator and started terminating. I started with Instagram and then Facebook, or even, I wasn't really a big Facebook guy, but, and I never really tapped into TikTok because by the time TikTok came up around, I was already on my way out of social media and being sucked into that. The last thing that I had to eradicate was a YouTube. Now, YouTube is a double-edged sword because obviously in YouTube you can either be entertained or you can be educated or somewhere in the middle. What's that for me? That was being entertained by politics and what was going on with the government, being and getting informed. That's the excuse. So I got sucked into that and listening to different podcasts that talked about different things. And that was the last thing that I had to eradicate from my own life. So that's why focus became a big part of the pillars. Because
Okay.
once I eradicated that, my life just went from a slow motion to the flash. And I'm not sure, have you, I'm sure you've seen those movies where either it's Flash or X-Men, where you have this really fast guy, and then everything else is super slow, and then he's like walking like nothing. He's
Mhm.
moving the bullet, he's walking, taking the chair out. Have you seen that?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's how I felt when once I eradicated distractions, because I see the world in these new eyes and like,
Mhm.
wow, everybody, Tim, everybody's so distracted, bro. It's
Yeah.
like this world, these big businesses, these big industries, man, they have a hold of us. They have a
Mhm.
grab in our minds. And brother, that's why the focus one is such a big pillar for the proactivator. So I'm gonna ask you, Tim, where do you fall in the on the spectrum of your focus? One, it's like you're super distracted, to a 10 where you're like that flash, you're focused in everything that you do in your life. Where do you fall on that?
I feel good about that. probably at like a 8.7.
Nice.
I Several years ago, I discovered mindfulness and meditation, and I'm sure I had heard the term before, but it was, we're not when we're ready, we're ready. We can hear little seeds getting planted in our lives, and um, but I was at a point in life where, yeah, it was so, like, so distracting, and my mind was ping-ponging all over the place. So I practice mindfulness and meditation every day, where it's, even if it's, like, 10 minutes, sometimes it's guided. I have an app or whatever, but most of the time now where I'm in this rhythm of it, where it does slow things down, and I love how you put that, because it's really hard to explain to somebody when you get to that state, but that's you described it really well, where I do a lot of driving, and, I used to, when I'd get closer to a metropolitan area, I could feel my shoulders tense up, and I would just get, like, anxious, and somebody would cut me off, and I'd get upset. And now, honestly, hardly any of that ever happens, because I'm part of the traffic, and nobody's out there to try to get me. So that's been a really big piece. And then, like, social media, I'm kind of a social media ninja, where I use it for my business. I use it because people wanna know where I'm gonna be speaking or singing, and people wanna know that, but I make it about them. Like, when I do a speaking engagement, I talk about the group that I spoke with, because I want people to know about them and, what their challenges are. And so, but I get in there, I clear my bubbles, because I hate having notification bubbles. So I'll get in there, I'll just go click, 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 get rid of the bubbles, and then I say what I'm gonna say, and then I get out of there, because 100% of the time, if I go in and if I read a headline or something, that's maybe okay, but guaranteed, if I go into the comments, I'm gonna get, like, upset and angry, so if I know that going into it, why would I expose myself to that? And it'd be like hitting my head on the wall, and ouch, that hurt. Well, of course it hurt, you knucklehead. You don't hit your head on the wall. And um so so that's been very freeing too, uh to put roadblocks up on that and filter that negative, because it's as beneficial as the internet could be. Uh, there's so much. There is a lot of good out there. I will tell you that, but there's a lot of trash, and that's where if I can spend some time talking to Gabriel and like working on my business and doing different things, then I'm all in. But if I if I if I know that going into these comments and politics, it's like nobody's ever going to change my mind, and I'm not going to change anybody's mind about anything. And it's just going to continue to divide us as a country and as people. And so if I know what I can work on, and I know where I can focus. And if I do that, then that's the only thing I can control, is what my attitude is. I'm not going to control your attitude, or, if you say something about me, or if somebody's whatever. It's like, I can't control that. I'm going to control what I can control. And part of that is where my focus is. And, so I'm good at that, because for many, many years, I was not good at it. I love the business I'm in right now. I love being an entrepreneur. I love sharing message and music with people. And to get better at that, I better practice what I preach. And I do. And
Nice.
it makes a difference in myself. And then when somebody grasps onto that concept and they start implementing it into their life, and it's not as easy. Like when I tell people, I wrote a song called I Am, I Can, I Will. And I've had some people come up and they're clearly not in a good space. And they say, really, Tim, is it that easy? I am, I can, I will, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, clearly it's not that easy. I'm not suggesting it is, but it's a really good place to start. If I'm 800 pounds and I know that I need to lose weight, you could tell them, well, just watch what you eat and exercise. It's not that simple, but it's a really good place to start. And so mental health and wellness and spiritual health and physical health, you have to start somewhere, and you have to start with those proactive. I love your whole concept, Gabriel. That's why I wanted to, so excited to get on this call with you. And because I love your mission that we need to control what we can control. We need to be proactive and be that, know what you can do, know what your triggers are, and avoid those triggers or deal with them so they don't become triggers anymore. And I always tell people it's so simple, but it's not easy. It's, most of the solutions are within our reach already. We have the tools in our tool belt. It's just grabbing them, implementing them, plugging them in, and then being mindful of the crap that you're taking in, and who you're hanging out with. So
Yeah.
surround yourself with high flyers, and you're going to soar.
And also the voices that you listen to. What are the voices that you're hearing? One of the things that I want to bring to the proactivators movement is one voice. One voice. Stop listening to too many people. Just listen to one voice. Listen to the proactivators' voice. And that's not me. That's us.
Mhm.
That's this channel. That's the people who are here are proactivators. Listen to the one voice. So, because what they're gonna now, it might not be as entertaining as watching, cats, make you laugh or other stuff. But it's okay to be bored
Mhm.
sometimes. That's okay. Hey, we're giving you permission that it's okay to be bored, but hang in there, because if you do hang in there long enough, those voices are gonna start speaking into your life,
Mhm.
and your life is going to start shifting from where it is right now to where you want it to be. So, what I hear a lot from you, Tim, is that you do have a lot of rules in your life. You
Mhm.
do. You have a lot of rules, good rules that you
Yeah.
follow already. So, it's not going to be very hard for you to, first of all, like understand, okay, I do follow a lot of rules, and start writing your constitution on other areas to elevate those areas, because you're already good at applying rules and following them,
Mhm.
your own rules that you put for yourself, so and when we come to that, when I talk to somebody like you, it's like, oh man, Tim is good. He's right there, man. It's only a little shift right here, and he'll be a 10 almost in everything because this guy is already pretty good at adding rules and following rules that he implemented for himself in other areas. Let's go ahead and talk about fulfillment. Fulfillment in the way that the term, and you know what, Tim, bro, your son, he didn't
Luke?
even hesitate. Yeah,
Yeah.
he didn't even hesitate. He said, "Oh, I'm a 10 on that one."
Yeah.
Very confident. I love that.
Yeah.
Because fulfillment is not, it's about how much do we give of ourselves. Man, you can tell Tim gives a lot of himself. He gives, he's just a giver.
Mhm.
And when you give, you get more. Just like the
Mhm.
Bible says, it's better to give than to receive. Luke, he not only gives resources, but he gives his time, he gives his money,
Mhm.
he gives, brother. And I'm not sure where he learned that. You must have done a good job there, but brother, fulfillment. So let's talk about you, Tim, personally. Where do you find yourself as far as fulfillment from a scale from 1 to 10, where not only the amount that you give, that's a good thing,
Yeah.
but also the time that you spend, because I know you did mention that you do, you sing for some organizations and stuff like that.
Yep.
So where do you find yourself in this pillar from a scale from 1 to 10?
I'm gonna ride with Luke on that one, and I'm 10. It's I feel so fulfilled right now, and because of that, because it's not about me. It has. I used to. Music is such a big part of my life, and I used to do. I still do a lot of funerals and weddings and just different life events for people. But there was a time in my life where I would get nervous, where I'd be like, you're standing in front of a church or whatever, and these people are, you know, but I would be nervous because I was thinking, what if I screw up? And because it was on me. But I did a funeral many years ago for a 16-year-old girl who died. And that was one of those 2x4 across the forehead moments for me where it was like, you knucklehead. It has nothing to do with me. And here I am playing my guitar and singing for this family that it has to be one of the most horrible days of their life. And if I can do something with a gift that I've been given of music that can dial that day up just a little, however bit it does, if make it better, I'm all in. And and that was a shift for me, a big shift where it was like, it's not about me. I recognize I've been given gifts. I'm going to share those gifts. And my whole career in law enforcement, I knew in kindergarten that I was going to be a police officer. There was never a question. It was a calling for me. I loved my career. Right before I retired, I shared my message with a group of police leaders. And I got in the parking lot afterwards, and I was shaking. I called my wife. I said, "I've just found my next calling." To have 2 callings in life and to recognize that and embrace that. And so I retired and I started speaking and sharing this message. And about 6 months ago, I was talking with a guy that I used to work with, and he's like, "Holy smokes, Tim, you are living your dream, aren't you?" And I'm like, "I am." I mean, it truly is. It's when you can, like, my job, I use air quotes, but my job is making people happy, making people think about their life, and providing a soundtrack. Like last night, I played for a little Christmas party for a civic organization, and these people, that's their organization is out there helping people, so I can pour into them by having some fun and sharing some stories and sing some songs and show some Christmas music, and it's like, I'm in all day, every day on that, and so when I do that, it's fulfilling, and it fills my cup up knowing that I'm hopefully filling somebody's cup up. And like what you're doing, Gabriel, with this show and these interviews is somebody out there, their cup is nearly empty. And so they're searching. They're out there thinking, I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know this life, what else could possibly happen. And then they get some hope from you. They get some hope from your guests that are on there. And if I can do that just by words that I'm saying or examples that I'm using, and you can do that. Yeah, again, all day, every day, I'm in. So I do. I feel very fulfilled. I know what Luke's talking about when he says he's a 10. That kid gives and gives and gives, and he does it from a place of love, and he continues. And then the success that his business has uh, is like almost like a secondary thing for him. I mean, it's
Mhm.
where his purpose is to help people. And he knows when his business isn't gonna be a good fit for somebody, he's not gonna try to force it, and, he's gonna, like, say, "Yeah, I don't think we're a good fit, but I wanna help you because 'cause you're looking for help, and this person might be better suited," and, so he does that from a place of giving, and so I totally under his wife, Olivia, she could be a guest on your show. My wife, Denise, could be a guest, and it's like but again, you surround yourself with these people, and, it can't help but fill up your own heart and your own soul, by pouring into others, and it's just that residual we fill each other up, and that the tide rises and we all float, and all those cliches, and it's a beautiful thing, brother.
Yeah. No, Tim, you know what? I want to be a part more of you guys. I want to hang out with you guys. We got to do something together.
Heck yeah.
I want to put together a seminar. I want to put together seminars for the proactivators and bring speakers to speak in these seminars. And yeah, next year is going to be, I believe, a breakout year for the proactivators. I'm finishing my book as we speak.
Woohoo!
Yeah, thank you.
Your
The
first
book
book?
is yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
good
The
for
book,
you.
thank you. It's titled Unleash the Proactivator. And yeah, I mean, it talks about the six pillars, my own personal growth, it talks about everything that I've gone through that you have gone through, Tim. Everybody
Mhm,
has gone through, right? Because we're all in the same boat together. So I know it's gonna resonate with a lot of people, but knowing people like you, like Luke, and like your family, well, I want to be a part of this planet that you guys are in. Because this planet needs to grow. We need to make this planet grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and convert people into that mindset that allows them to have the life that all of you guys are living, man. It's a blessing, Tim. The fact that you have all your kids, they're doing so good, that you get
mhm,
along with all of them, and so the problems that you may have in a daily basis are probably just nothing compared to the life that as a whole that you see. It's like,
mhm,
man, you're a blessed man, your wife, everybody around you.
yeah,
So I admire that. It's not very common to see that. And man, you guys are a powerhouse of a family. And you guys need to be a part of the proactivators in some way, shape, or form because you have so much to give. All of you guys, like you mentioned, you, your wife, and everybody, because you guys have that mindset that
mhm,
more people need to listen to more voices like yours, like your family, because it's going to ignite that fire in them that they can have the same thing.
mhm,
Doesn't matter that the upbringing wasn't like that.
right.
The change can happen with them. They can be the change moving forward for their kids, for their families. They can be that change. So that's the way I see it. Those are all the pillars. Tim, let me ask you something. Is there anything that we talked about today? And one thing before, we kind of like wrap it up.
Mm,
Normally, Tim, I do these same podcast a year later. So next
wow,
year around December, we're going to sit down again for another conversation of the proactivators. And we're going to ask you questions about hey, this where you were last time. Where are you at now?
yeah,
Are you lower or are you higher in those pillars? So it's a way to ignite something in you. Say, hey, you're on the spotlight now, Tim.
yeah, there's
You're on the
some
spotlight.
accountability there, I love that, that's good accountability, brother,
That's
that's
right.
awesome.
That's right. So yeah, we want to see you. We want to see you guys grow in every area. So we're gonna give we're gonna ask you, hey, what are you doing the exercising? Are you in every area? Let's see where you're at.
I love it.
Nice. Now,
Yeah.
Tim, is there anything else that you want to add before we go? Any message, and also not only any extra message, but also tell the audience where they can find you and how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I wrote my first book a little over a year ago, and so I'm excited for you because it's scary. You're throwing it out there. You're vulnerable. My book is called "Find Your Beat: Walk in the Rhythm of Life,"
Nice.
and it's very personal, and it was scary to
Mm,
do, and but it's been just such a blessing to the whole process, the people reading it and everything. It's been wonderful. But I'm based in Minnesota, but I travel all over the country, and my website is offdutychief.com. And yeah, so I mean, it's the whole life. Luke lives in Arizona, so we have a place in Arizona also, my wife and I, and try to get down there and get out of the tundra of Minnesota as much as possible. But I know Luke gets to Miami, and so I'm thinking the next time he goes to Miami, we should plot something like we're 2 days ahead of him going. We go early and we meet there and we hang out with Gabriel. That would be amazing.
nice.
Yeah, but
Nice. All right.
yeah, so I'm out there. It's easy to track what I'm doing, and yeah, I speak to a lot of different organizations, and um, yeah, love to share the message.
Tell me a little more about the book.
132 pages of blood, sweat, and tears where we ride that roller coaster of like that mindset change. And how do we navigate the crappy parts of life, which we all experience, but still
Hmm.
remember the beauty? And in law enforcement, nobody called
Hmm.
911 to say that their kid just got an A on his report card. And it was always something that to them, to the person calling 911 or that needed law enforcement, to them it was a life-changing event, and so to be involved with those all the time and you're on all the time, it's really easy to fall into an us versus them mindset. And I was the poster child for us versus them. And I look at social media and in our world right now is it always has been an us versus them. And it's really easy to fall into that. So I talk about uh, my challenges. I started drinking alcohol when I was 12 years old, and I used it as a crutch in law enforcement. And so I talk about that. It's very personal, and then talk about the beautiful people that I met that were put into my life throughout my growth, and these people that made a profound impact on me. And there's a guy named Norman that I talk about in my book quite a bit, and my parents, of course. And so it's just that what I love about the book, again, it's not about me, but what the responses that I've been getting about the book have been like, that really, I put myself in your story, or that was me growing up, or I had a similar experience growing up. And that's what I love to hear because I love singing songs. Like I can sing Brown Eyed Girl all day, every day. That's great. But that's Van Morrison's song and it makes people happy and whatever. But the book and my speaking is an opportunity to sing my song, to share my message and what helped form me into what I hope is. I mean, it's working, and it's not, it's simple, but it's not easy. So the book has been wonderful, and I'm working on a children's book now for kids called I Am, I Can, I Will. And
Hmm.
how do we instill that mindset into to not only kids but everybody? That's that attitude of being proactive, and I am, I can, I will, and let's do this thing.
Tim, what is the like if you could summarize, if you could, in one sentence, in one word, your message, the message that your internal message for the people, the message that it's in your book, the message that you have when you speak to people. What is the ultimate, like if you could bundle it up into a sentence or even one word, what would that be?
I'd have to go with I am, I can, I will.
Mm,
And so that, because that just encapsulates the mindset of I am, I can, I will. And the beauty of that phrase is that it's not all on me. I am, I can, I will. That's the phrase. But I am, I can, I will, because of other people and because of plugging myself into church and to taking care of myself, that's going to prepare me. And so that's my whole message can be summed up in I am, I can, I will. And when I'm introducing myself to an organization, I tell them that I help their members find their beat, their rhythm of life, and their and I do that through tactics, tactics that I've applied in my life, like this is what you can do. If you implement this, like 2, 3, 4, 5 things, depending on how much time I have with the organization. But if you implement them, it will make a difference. And just like you're talking about going outside for 15 minutes, reading the Bible for 15 minutes, those rules that you have, when you implement them, you can't help but improve. You can't go backwards. It doesn't work that way. And so I get fueled up, and I don't know if your podcast is video too, like if people will see this, but I talk with my hands a lot because I get so fired up talking about other people and about, like we've all been down. There was a time in my life, Gabriel, where I was curled up in the fetal position on the couch thinking, what more? I mean, this is ridiculous. It's horrible. I had no energy. And then a song came on, and it was like one of those moments, it's just like, you got this, bro. You got this. And but that's our life. Each and every one of us have been there. We've been down in the dumps. We've been thinking, good God, what more? I don't know if I can handle anything more. But somebody comes along. You talked about listening to the one voice, and I have a voice in my head that I have to tune out sometimes because it's that negative voice. And if I can share one quick story, I was sitting at our place in Arizona having a cup of coffee. It was gorgeous, beautiful blue sky. I could see palm trees. And I was thinking, I live in a 55 and up community there, and it's paradise in my opinion. But there's people that are just toxic. Like, oh my Lord, they're complaining about everything. And so I sat down and I opened up my phone and I started to make a note. I want to do my keynote message at these 55 and up communities because they need some optimism. They need some hope. They need to find their beat. And so I started a note on my phone and it said, 55 plus community optimism. And then as soon as I wrote that, Gabriel, I thought, this is stupid. Nobody's going to come. What if people, and these thoughts were in my head. And as soon as I was thinking that, there was this woman walking by and she looked at me and she said, hey, Tim, how was your summer? I don't know who she is, and she lives in my community, but I don't know her name. And I'm just like, oh, it was great. And how was your summer? And she said, you know what? 2 new hips, 2 new eyes. I beat cancer. I am, I can, I will. And I was looking at her and she was quoting, I am, I can, I will. And I'm like, I was looking at her just dumbfounded. And then she kept walking and she goes, look out world, here I come. And she said, Tim, because of your song, I am, I can, I will. And because of the message that you talk about your mother, that got me through it. And then she kept walking away and she said, look out world, here I come. And then that was my aha moment for that moment. But I get those moments a lot where I'm thinking, oh, this is stupid. My book was a big example. Like, oh, nobody's going to read it. What if somebody doesn't like it? But almost every time, as soon as I think those thoughts, something like that happens. Somebody's put into my life. Somebody says something, I get a text or whatever it is. And that's my hope for this interview right now, that somebody, if they're listening this long into this too, more power to them. And, but those messages are there. Those signs are there. And if we keep asking ourselves, just give me a sign, show me something. Am I on the right track? People, you are on the right track. Please keep doing what you're doing. And unless it's toxic, of course, but find that rule, find that ProActivator message that's going to help you continue to grow and to get better just inch by inch, And after a year's time, smokes, the difference you're gonna make in yourself and in other people, you can't go backwards. It won't happen.
Yeah. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate your message, brother. I like that. I am, I can, I will. Definitely something that we need to keep talking. It's a good, you gotta look at yourself in the mirror every day and say that,
Yeah.
because you're gonna do something to your life that is
That's
going
right.
to just change you forever.
Yeah.
Because it's not just, yeah, we can say it, but when we start believing it,
Right.
that's when change happens.
Yeah.
That's when change happens. But change is but the belief is not just gonna come from one time. The belief is gonna come as you continue with the faith of, I am, I can, I will. And once you start believing it, that's it, man. It's game over. There's
Yeah.
nothing that we can't do if
Right.
we start believing in those words. So all right, Tim. Well, thank you so much for being with me, brother. I appreciate it. You do have a lot of wisdom. The years have really taught you so much. Your life is an example of it. Your family is an example of it. And so thank you for spending this time with me. I'm sure we're going to make it happen. We're going to do something together in the future with your family. I'm gravitating to you guys more and more. If you
Uh,
know of anybody that might want to jump into the Proactivators podcast, go ahead and let them know. But for now, this is it for today, my friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.